So it is finally summertime. Baseball's in full swing. My garden is finally making tomatoes and cucumbers. We're starting to harvest things. At the end of every day, I read on the porch and look at the fireflies and listen to the t-ball game. And at this time of the year, I love to find those quintessential summer reads that just fit with the laid back vibes of the summertime. So I was listening to a book podcast. I have many that I enjoy listening to that give me a lot of my reading recommendations. And this one is called What Should I Read Next? It's probably one of the more popular ones that people listen to. One of my favorite things about the podcast is that they do seasonal book guides and book recommendations, and they always do a giant summer reading guide with all of the host's favorite books that she's read that are either out or coming out around the summertime. And she actually this year, I feel that she doesn't usually say, what her favorite book is from the guide, but this year she said that there was one book that really stood out to her and just seemed like the perfect quintessential summer read, and that is Sandwich by Catherine Newman. The reason why this book is described as summery is because it delves into all of the family dynamics and the family drama that often get escalated in the summertime. As we have more time away from school, maybe summer vacations, people are packed into close quarters with their family members. And so, this situation often brings about interesting tensions within families, dynamics that might not be there at other times of the year, which is one of the most interesting parts of summer. And so this book really sounds like it is going to delve into that aspect. So essentially, this book follows a family. It's a mom, her adult children, and also her aging parents. And they go to this little beach house in Cape Cod for the summer. And while they're there, I think tensions are going to start to rise. There's going to be a lot of drama from maybe past summers or past things that have happened in the family. And as everyone's kind of moving into their new phase of life, there's a lot of changes happening. And so I think that this is going to be kind of that claustrophobic, stiflingly warm summer drama that I just want right now. So I am planning on picking this up starting today. It is quite a short book, actually, so I'm hoping to finish this over a couple days. It's only about 227 pages. I feel like that's also nice for, a summer read, easy to pack on vacation, to put in your beach bag. So anyways, this is the reading plan for this week. Apart from that, I am doing some very summery activities today because this year Tyler and I are finally renting a home that has a backyard space, and we have just enjoyed so much, enjoying the backyard, sitting out there, and in particular planting a massive vegetable garden that needs a lot of upkeep and needs a lot of pruning, harvesting, weeding, all of those things. So one of the tasks that I have to do with the garden today is actually getting some new cilantro plants because my previous plants have bolted or gone to seed, and so the rest of the leaves are just kind of spindly and they've given up on producing the wonderful cilantro leaves that we want to eat. So those friends are going to go in the compost bin, and I'm going to be getting some new cilantro plants to plant in the garden. I also have some weeding, trellising, watering to do. So that's how I'm planning to spend the afternoon. So anyways, I'm about to head out to the garden center to grab some new cilantro plants and get my very busy day in the garden started. So it's later in the evening, and I thought I would give you a little bit of a reading update because I did do some outdoorsy stuff in the garden. I got my cilantro planted, but then I just read a little bit in the bath, and then I also read some outside, which was so lovely. I have now reached chapter 8 of this book, which is about, let's see here, about 50 pages through. So we're just starting to kind of introduce some of the characters and the setting of this book. But basically, it starts out with a family just getting to their beach house for the summer. It is a mom, a dad, 2 adult kids, Jamie and Willa, and then Jamie's girlfriend Maya, who are there for the summer. And this family has been renting this beach house for years and years, since the kids were very small. It's kind of a modest little home that they just go to every year, and the hosts or the people who own the rental change little things up over time, but really it's the same as it was as the kids were growing up and for many years. And so it's kind of almost like a time capsule. Every summer when they go back there to Cape Cod, they get in their beach house, they're kind of reminded of a lot of the memories of when their kids were younger, of when different things happened throughout the years. And so they have just checked in. They're starting their I think week there. I think this setting of being in the same home every year, and the family coming back and remembering when maybe the kids were sitting in a certain chair so many years ago and they were so much younger, it really reminds them of all the years past, and I think has a lot of interesting things to say about nostalgia and what we think about and what we remember from years past and what was actually there. There's a kind of lengthy quote that I loved. This was on page 12 of the book. And this is when they go to a little shop. They've all forgotten their bathing suits, so they go to a shop to buy some new bathing suits. It says, "We've spent no small fraction of our lives in this shop. When you think of Cape Cod, you might picture those lapis skies, or skies tiered in glorious bands of gray. You might picture the wild stretches of beaches backed by rugged dunes or quaintly shingled houses with clouds of blue hydrangeas blossoming all over the place. You might think of the deep steel blue of the sea as the setting sun puddles into it in melting popsicle colors." Which is funny, because most of the time you're actually at the surf shop or the weird little supermarket that smells like raw meat, or in line at the clam shack, the good bakery, the porta potty, the mini golf place. You're buying $20 sunscreen at the gas station. You're waiting for your child to pick out 6 pieces of saltwater taffy with the beach in a queering thought bubble above your head, while your beard turns white and grows down to the floor, pages flying off the calendar. You're waiting at the walk-in clinic because the kids have sudden fevers, and it turns out strep throat. You're waiting at an old-fashioned pharmacy for the ancient pharmacist to mix up or maybe invent the antibiotics that will make everyone need to lean out from their narrow beds with the anchor-printed coverlets and barf feverishly into the speckled enamel lobster pot you've placed on the floor between them. But also, yes, beaches and ponds and epic skies, all of it. We've started to meet the children a little bit, so you kind of get some general details about where they are in their life and what they do, but you get the sense, because so much of this book is about nostalgia in the years past and what has happened at this house as the families come, that you're going to learn a lot more about them as people, them growing up. And I'm really intrigued about some of the details that have already been shared about them and where it's going to go from here. One other interesting thing that I've really enjoyed in this book is kind of the disconnect that the protagonist, the mom, feels from her adult children. She often talks about the closeness that you have with young children when they're in the house all the time and you're doing everything for them. And then they grow up and they go on their way and you have this 1 week of time where maybe you're spending some time with them and you just feel so removed from the relationship that once was there. There's a interesting quote that I liked on page 45. It says, "These grown kids, after your own life has grown so quiet. The kids who shake cocktails and fry squid and drive to the corn stand and tell funny stories about the kombucha tap at work. I had no idea it would be this good. If you'd had shown Nick is the husband in this story, and me videos of this while we were still squatting on the beach to try and comfort a crying someone about the sand having a shrimp smell, we would not have believed you." So very much enjoying and intrigued about the beginning of this. I really am enjoying the writing. I'm enjoying the pacing. I'm very intrigued more about these characters. And kind of this little character study set in a very summery environment. So I was going to do a bit more reading, but I think I might put on episode 2 of Bridgerton. I just started episode 1 of season 1 of Bridgerton while I was eating dinner earlier. And yes, I am like 3 years behind the Bridgerton train, but my mom is always talking about how much she loves it, how much she thinks I would love it. So I decided to watch episode 1 today, given that I have a bit more time, summertime, to enjoy things, watch things, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was giving me Jane Austen vibes, the drama, the scandal, all of the social dynamics as people try and find their husbands, fake relationships, all kinds of things that I was so intrigued to watch. So I think I might put on episode 2 before I head to sleep. And then I'm gonna get an early night because I am exhausted after a long day in the sun. Just finished a really lovely dinner where I picked some of our crops from the garden. So cucumbers, our bell pepper, some of our herbs, and I made them into little spring rolls and then made a dipping sauce. It was one of my first meals that I've made exclusively from produce that we've grown, and it was very delicious. I did harvest a little bit of the new cilantro, but I wanted to give it some room to grow, give it some room to breathe, and so I just took a few leaves, which definitely added quite a bit to the flavor. And it's just such a no hassle, no stress meal to make in the summertime. So my plan is to clean up the house tonight because it's a bit of a mess. Tyler is going to work, and so I have the night just to chill at home. So I want to finish this and then do a bit of a house clean. So I have now reached over the halfway point. I'm on page 164. I don't have too many more thoughts from when I last shared with you guys. My one, issue with this book is that it doesn't have a lot of narrative structure or plot propelling it forward. I think it is supposed to be very realistic, and with that, it's not supposed to have a perfectly linear narrative structure. But as a reader, it is a little bit difficult to kind of sink into and get that immersive reading experience. So I think that that could be a pro for some people and a con for some people. I do think that the length is kind of appropriate for this type of book, because often if you have a book like this that goes on for hundreds and hundreds of pages, it can be quite difficult to stay in and stay invested in the whole time. But still enjoying a lot of the themes that I talked about previously that are very much being established and fleshed out. And I am very curious in this last about 100 pages where we are going to come to with the conclusion of this book. There are definitely a lot of different directions or breadcrumbs that have been brought up throughout the book, and I'm just curious about how everything is going to play itself out. So yes, planning to finish this tonight, read a little bit of Bridgerton with some new peppermint tea that I got from the grocery store earlier, and then just enjoy the rest of the evening. And then tomorrow I should be ready to wrap up this vlog with all of my final thoughts and of course my final reading of Sandwich by Catherine Newman. But now I need to actually do some chores around the house and clean up. So it's about a week later, and I've kind of been mulling over what I think about this book. I go back and forth about my reading experience with it, whether I enjoyed it, whether I didn't. So I thought it was time that I actually sat down with you guys and wrapped up all of my thoughts from this reading vlog. First off, it was really fun to get back to vlogging again, to sharing, you know, a typical relaxed week in the summertime with you guys. So hopefully you guys liked watching how I like to weave reading into summer, into my days. I guarantee that not all my days are as chilled and laid back as they were in this vlog, but it was nice to enjoy that time. So, Sandwich. I feel like this book was written very well. Typically, I really enjoy books that are written very well. Most of the time, I don't feel like I need to be similar to the main character, relate to the main character, empathize with them to like a book. Like, I can like a book about someone who's extremely different from me and their situation is very different from the one that I live. For example, All the Light We Cannot See is one of my favorite books of all time, and you know, my situation could not be further from the main character, who is a child living in war-torn France. So I feel like I often enjoy books that depict things that are very different from the world that I live and from the person that I am. I feel like in this book, my enjoyment would have been more if I was the target audience, which I think is somebody very similar to the main character, or someone who's sandwiched between kids that are growing up and aging parents, feeling like she doesn't know two groups of people that were so important throughout a lot of her life. And so I think the conflict there is really interesting. I think that the relationship between the character and these different people, who obviously mean so much to her, but have changed a lot over time, is really interesting to read about. I just don't know that I enjoyed it that much. I don't think that, again, I'm the target audience for this. There's a lot in here about menopause, about growing up as a woman, about fertility, and some of those topics are very interesting to me. Some of them just aren't things that I'm thinking about all the time right now, and so I think that maybe somebody who was more in the situation that this character was in might have enjoyed it more, but it wasn't a bad book by any means. Again, the writing, the craft, the way that it was set up was really interesting and intriguing to read. I did find aspects of this very summery. I did enjoy the drama and the complexity of it. It just wasn't one of my books per se. I think I'm ultimately going to rate this a 3.5 stars. I am quite conflicted about where it's going to end up, but I think it could be for some readers, and I think some of you guys are definitely going to really enjoy this as a perfect little short summer experience. So with that said, I'm going to end this vlog here. I hope that you really enjoyed listening to me chat about Sandwich and read this book. If you have read this, let me know what you thought, if you enjoyed it, what you rated it. And I am planning to pick up God of the Woods next. I'll put the book cover on the screen. I think I probably will do a review of that one. So also let me know if you have read that book or are interested in reading that one. I would love to know what you're thinking about it. I'm really enjoying the beginning part of that one. And with that, I will see you guys all very soon with another video. Bye.